If you want to understand how a free people can lose the liberties that they have without a single shot being fired, you have to follow one thing: money. Because whoever controls the purse controls the government's power and ultimately controls the fight over your rights. Today, we're going to break down Federalist 30, Hamilton's blunt argument that the new federal government must have the ability to raise revenue. And we're going to tie it directly to modern battles over the Second Amendment, federal overreach, and the founders' blueprint for keeping power checked. Federalist 30 is Hamilton kicking off a sequence of essays about taxation and the Federal Reserve. And here's the big idea. The Constitution is not just a list of ideals. It's a machine that has to run, defend the country, pay some debts, support common functions. And a machine that can't fund itself is either powerless or it becomes a beggar dependent on someone else. Hamilton's argument is basically that if the federal government has responsibilities, especially national defense, it must have reliable, direct authority to raise money. Not maybe, not only when states feel like it, not only if Congress asks nicely. And he's aiming that directly at what failed under the Articles of Confederation. The national government could request funds from the states, and the states could ignore the requests, which meant the national government was just national in name only. Hamilton's underlying fear is a government that can't fund its obligations will either collapse or take shortcuts or centralize power in ugly ways during emergencies. Hamilton spends time on something that he treats like common sense. If you assign a duty to a government, you must give it the means to perform that duty. So why does he hammer that point? Because the Anti-Federalist concern was, if you give the federal government the power to tax, it will become a monster. Who was right on that one? Well, Hamilton answers with, all right, then tell me how it pays for defense and national obligations. And this is where Federalist 30 becomes a warning about structural reality. A government that has obligations but no revenue or revenue power will fail to provide security or do something dangerous to get that money anyway. And Hamilton's message is, don't build a system that forces desperate extra legal behavior later. Design it properly now with checks and limits. Under the Articles of Confederation, Congress could basically send a bill to the states. Hey, guys and gals, we need some money. And that's called a requisition system. And Hamilton was saying, that's not taxation, that's just wish casting. Now, why did it fail? Because states had competing interests. States had their own debts and their own priorities. And some states paid less, some paid more, and the resentment grew. And the national government looked weak because it was weak. Hamilton argues that this system produces inequality because some states would shoulder more burden than others, or instability because funding depended on political mood, and ultimately national vulnerability. And if you want a country to remain free, you can't have a defense posture that depends on 13 separate political entities deciding whether they feel like cooperating this month. Well, Hamilton's not saying, give the federal government a blank check forever. He's saying, don't handcuff the national government into dysfunction, because dysfunction creates crisis, and crisis creates power grabs. And this is the uncomfortable truth of history. Weak systems invite emergencies, and emergencies justify extraordinary measures which rarely disappear. So Hamilton believes stable constitutional revenue authority with checks is safer than a system that constantly pushes the country to edge. Federalist 30, at its core, is about national survival. Hamilton's arguing that defense isn't optional. A country that can't defend itself loses sovereignty, and a country that loses sovereignty loses liberty. Remember, they just fought a revolution. So when the Constitution talks about providing for the common defense, Hamilton sees funding as the fuel. Now, here's the real-world translation. If government can't fund defense in a constitutional, predictable way, it will either become dependent on outside powers, or centralize power and panic, or encourage corruption, patronage, and backroom deals. All of those outcomes are poison of a free people, and all of them kind of take place here in 2026. Federalist 30 is not a Second Amendment essay on its face. It's not about guns, it's about revenue. But the connection is structural. The founders designed liberty as a network: enumerated powers, separation of powers, federalism, state versus federal roles, and a Bill of Rights that draws hard lines. The Second Amendment is one of those hard lines, an explicit barrier against disarmament and tyranny. But here's the reality. A right written on paper still depends on whether the government respects limits. And how does the government expand beyond limits? Often through bureaucracy, funded at scale. Hamilton's point was that revenue powers also allow government to function. Modern reality is that revenue powers also allow the creation of vast administrative states, agencies, rulemaking, and enforcement arms. And when that machinery is used properly, it supports legitimate functions. But when it's used improperly, it becomes a workaround to do what lawmakers can't pass openly. In the Second Amendment world, we've seen this play out when rules function like laws, ATF, definitions shift, frames and receivers, braces, constructive possession, etc. Compliance becomes punishment, and enforcement becomes policy. And Federalist 30 helps us see the pipeline. Like funding equals capacity, and capacity equals bureaucracy, and enforcement, and pressure on rights. Hamilton's answer to abuse wouldn't be like defund everything and go back to chaos. His answer would be keep the constitutional structure strong so that the tools can't be turned against the people. And one of the most important two-way correlations here is the concept of using financial burdens to restrict a right. The founders understood that government can ban things without banning them by pricing ordinary people out. So if you can't prohibit something directly, you burden it indirectly with fees, taxes, endless compliance costs, delayed approvals, and these can be used as soft prohibition. Federalist 30, like I said, is about taxation and the authority of taxation generally. But it sits right next to a modern warning that if government can use the revenue system to target a specific constitutional right, you got a liberty problem. So when modern agencies or modern lawmakers use revenue and regulation to squeeze the Second Amendment, the real fight becomes, are they operating within the constitutional limits? Are they turning administration into legislation? And are they using money as a proxy for disarmament? That's exactly why knowing Federalist 30 matters, because it teaches us the difference between power necessary to govern and power abused to control. A government that can't reliably raise money can't reliably defend a nation, and a nation can't defend itself, well, then it can't remain free. As we talk about the founders and the principles that built this country, it matters who we respect and support with our dollars. That's why I ask you to support Blackout Coffee. They are unapologetically pro-Constitution, and they believe in the freedoms that the founders warned us to protect, especially the Second Amendment. It's not some woke corporate coffee, premium small batch roasted coffee right here in America, in Florida. You can check it out. They do loose leaf teas and hot chocolates. They get shirts, hats, swag over at blackoutcoffee.com/GNG. Code GNG10 will save you some money as well. Support companies that still believe in the Republic. Thank you for the support. Let me leave you guys and gals with this. The founders did not write the Constitution because they trusted government. They wrote it because they didn't. And they wanted a system where power could function without becoming predatory. Hamilton's message in Federalist 30 isn't government is good, it's a national government must have the means to do its job, but it must be chained down by constitutional limits. And that's where you and I come in. Because the Bill of Rights, including the Second Amendment, only means something if we, the people, enforce the limits through courts, elections, state resistance where appropriate, and constant public pressure. If you want more breakdowns like this, the Federalist Papers, through the lens of a modern 2A battle, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and share this with someone who thinks that tax policy has nothing to do with liberty, because it has everything to do with it. Stay armed, stay free, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.